All right, so today we're going to dive into knowledge graphs
Okay.
in SaaS.
Uh,
You've mentioned before wanting to wrap your head around this whole knowledge graph thing,
for sure.
like what they are and how they're measured and
Yep.
what they can actually do in a SaaS context.
Absolutely.
So this deep dive will get you thinking about knowledge graphs
Yeah.
in ways you never have before.
It's fascinating about knowledge graphs is that they're a different way of thinking about data.
Okay.
They're not just rows in a spreadsheet.
Oh.
They're about understanding the connections between things.
So less like a list of ingredients and more like
Yes.
the actual recipe
Yeah.
showing how everything fits together.
Think of a knowledge graph as like a dynamic map of interconnected data points.
Okay.
Each point or node could be anything.
Mm.
A user, a product feature, a support ticket, you name it.
Oh, wow.
And the connections between these nodes are the edges
Okay.
that reveal the relationships, the context.
So instead of just knowing that user A exists,
Yeah.
we can see that they've used feature B,
Uh-huh.
submitted ticket C, and maybe even interacted with user D,
Right.
who happens to be a power user.
That's the power of it. We move beyond isolated data points to see the bigger picture.
Wow.
And that's where things get really interesting for SaaS businesses.
All right, I'm hooked. But before we go too far,
Yeah.
can we back up a bit?
Okay.
If we were building a knowledge graph,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of metrics
Okay.
would we need to keep an eye on?
You're thinking like a true data-driven mind.
Okay.
Metrics are crucial to understanding how your knowledge graph is performing.
All right.
One fundamental metric is node count.
Yeah.
Simply how many entities are in your graph.
Got it.
A growing node count usually means your knowledge graph is becoming more comprehensive.
So more nodes, more data points, more connections to work with.
Right.
What else should we be tracking?
Next up is edge count, telling us how many relationships we've mapped out. A healthy edge count suggests we're doing a good job of connecting the dots between those nodes.
Makes sense. Lots of edges probably means we're getting a richer understanding of how things relate to each other.
Exactly. And then there's graph density,
Right.
which is the ratio of edges to nodes. It's a measure of how tightly woven our knowledge graph is.
Okay.
A high graph density means we've got a really intricate web of connections.
Hold on. Why would a higher density be better?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that make the graph more complicated to work with?
That's where things get nuanced. Imagine a customer support knowledge graph.
Okay.
A higher density might mean faster resolution times because the relationships between problem solutions and even user profiles are more easily identified.
I see. So a dense graph can be powerful if it's well structured.
Yeah.
But what about the actual speed of getting answers?
Right.
That's got to be important in a SaaS world
Sure.
where users expect instant results.
Your spot-on query performance is key. How fast can our knowledge graph retrieve answers?
Right.
Slow queries equal frustrated users,
Yeah.
which is bad news for any SaaS business.
Okay, speed is crucial, but what about accuracy?
Right.
How do we make sure the information in our knowledge graph is actually correct?
That brings us to another vital metric, data accuracy.
Okay.
Just like Google is constantly updating its knowledge graph to reflect real-world changes, we need to ensure our SaaS knowledge graph is up to date and accurate.
This is making me think about all the different ways knowledge graphs could be used in SaaS.
Yeah.
We've talked about customer support,
Right.
but are there other core use cases?
Absolutely.
I'm ready to hear some real-world examples.
You're in for a treat. Get ready to be amazed by how SaaS businesses are leveraging knowledge graphs to enhance search power recommendations,
Oh,
personalize experiences, and even detect fraud.
it's like a wild ride. I can't wait to hear more.
Stay tuned because in the next part of our deep dive, we'll unpack those fascinating use cases and see how they're shaping the future of SaaS. Welcome back. We left off talking about all the amazing ways knowledge graphs are being used in SaaS. Ready to dive into some specific examples?
Absolutely. I'm particularly curious about how knowledge graphs can make search more intelligent.
Think about how frustrating it can be when you search for something and get a bunch of irrelevant results. That's often because traditional search relies on simple keyword matching.
Right. It's like the search engine doesn't really understand what I'm looking for.
Exactly. But with the knowledge graph, the search becomes context-aware. Imagine searching a SaaS knowledge base for a solution not just by keywords, but by the underlying intent of your problem.
So instead of just searching for error message X, I could describe the issue I'm facing, and the knowledge graph could connect the dots and find the most relevant solution.
Precisely. And it goes beyond customer support. Imagine a SaaS platform for market research where you can search not just for companies or products, but for trends, patterns, and competitive insights. That's the power of knowledge graph-driven search.
Wow, that's a game changer. What about those you may also like recommendations that seem to know me better than I know myself? Are knowledge graphs behind that magic too?
Absolutely. Those recommendations are all about understanding the relationships between users, their past behavior, and the items or content they've interacted with. Knowledge graphs excel at uncovering those connections.
So let's say I'm using a project management tool. The knowledge graph could see that I'm working on a marketing campaign, and based on my past projects and the projects of similar users, it could recommend relevant templates, resources, or even potential collaborators.
Exactly. That same principle applies to learning platforms where knowledge graphs can suggest courses, e-commerce platforms where they personalize product recommendations, and even music streaming services that curate playlists based on your listening history.
It's incredible how knowledge graphs can create these hyper-personalized experiences. But what about the less glamorous side of SaaS like fraud detection? Can knowledge graphs really help there too?
Absolutely. In fraud detection, it's all about connecting seemingly disparate pieces of information to identify suspicious patterns.
So let's say someone creates a new account using a fake email address, tries to purchase a high-value item, and then ships it to an address known for fraudulent activity. The knowledge graph could piece all of those clues together and raise a red flag.
That's the idea. It's like having a superpowered detective constantly analyzing your data for signs of foul play. And because knowledge graphs can process massive amounts of data in real time, they can help SaaS businesses stay ahead of fraudsters.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. We've covered search recommendations and even fraud detection. Are there any other core use cases we haven't touched on?
One area where knowledge graphs are becoming increasingly valuable is in enhancing customer support. Imagine a world where support agents have instant access to a comprehensive knowledge base that connects customer profiles, past interactions, product information, troubleshooting steps, and even known bugs.
That would be a dream come true for any support team. No more searching through endless documents or trying to remember every customer detail.
Exactly. And it gets even more exciting when you consider the potential of AI-powered chatbots fueled by knowledge graphs. These chatbots could understand the nuances of customer queries, provide personalized responses, and even resolve issues automatically.
So instead of waiting for a human agent, I could interact with a chatbot that's as knowledgeable as your most experienced support rep.
That's the vision. Of course, building and maintaining a knowledge graph that can power all of these amazing use cases isn't without its challenges.
Okay, I was just thinking that it all sounds a bit too good to be true. What are some of the hurdles SaaS businesses need to overcome when working with knowledge graphs?
That's a great question, and one we'll explore in the final part of our deep dive. Stay tuned as we unravel the challenges and limitations of knowledge graphs and SaaS and discover how businesses can overcome those hurdles to unlock the full potential of connected data.
Welcome back for the final part of our knowledge graph journey. I'm ready to hear about those challenges you hinted at. It all sounded a bit too easy.
Well, as with anything powerful, there's a bit of complexity behind the scenes. One of the biggest hurdles with knowledge graphs is data integration. Remember, we're talking about connecting data from all sorts of sources: CRM, marketing, automation, product usage logs, the list goes on.
And I imagine that data isn't always neatly packaged and ready to go.
You got it. We might have inconsistent formats, missing values, even conflicting information. It's like trying to assemble a puzzle where the pieces don't quite fit together.
So before we can even start building our amazing knowledge graph, we need to spend time cleaning and standardizing the data.
Exactly. And that data prep work can be a significant undertaking, especially for SaaS businesses with large and diverse data sets.
Okay, data integration is hurdle number one. What else should SaaS businesses be prepared for?
Closely tied to integration is data quality. A knowledge graph is only as good as the data it's built on. If we're feeding it inaccurate or incomplete information, the insights we get will be flawed.
It's like that old saying, garbage in, garbage out.
Precisely. And maintaining data quality is an ongoing process. We need to constantly monitor our data sources, identify and correct errors, and ensure the knowledge graph stays up to date.
So it's not just about building the knowledge graph, it's about nurturing it over time.
Exactly. Think of it like tending a garden. You need to prune, weed, and fertilize to keep those insights blooming.
Okay, I'm starting to see the commitment involved here. It's
Yeah.
more than just flipping a switch. What other challenges should we be aware of?
Well, as our SaaS business evolves, new data sources emerge, relationships change, and we need to adapt our knowledge graph accordingly. It's an ongoing process of adding nodes, updating edges, refining labels, basically keeping the entire structure relevant and accurate.
So even once the knowledge graph is built, it's not a set it and forget it kind of thing.
Not at all. Knowledge graph maintenance can be as a significant effort, and it often requires expertise in areas like graph databases, data modeling, and even machine learning.
That makes me think about the resources required. Do SaaS businesses need specialized teams or partners to handle this complexity?
It really depends on the scale and scope of the knowledge graph. Some businesses might have in-house expertise, while others might benefit from partnering with companies specializing in knowledge graph development.
This has given me a much clearer understanding of the challenges involved. It's definitely not a trivial undertaking. But I have to ask, with all these hurdles, is it truly worth it for SaaS businesses to invest in knowledge graphs?
That's a great question, and the answer, as with most things in business, is it depends. If you're a SaaS company dealing with relatively simple data and basic use cases, a knowledge graph might be overkill.
So it's not a magic solution for everyone.
Exactly. But for businesses with complex data, a desire to take search recommendations, personalization, or even fraud detection to the next level, a knowledge graph can be truly transformative.
It sounds like the key is to carefully weigh the potential benefits against the costs and challenges before diving in.
Absolutely. And to approach it strategically, start with a clear understanding of your goals. What problems are you trying to solve? What insights are you hoping to uncover? Once you have that clarity, you can assess whether a knowledge graph is the right tool for the job.
This has been an incredibly eye-opening deep dive. We've covered the basics, the metrics, the exciting use cases, and now the very real challenges of working with knowledge graphs. I feel like I've gained a much deeper appreciation for the complexity and potential of this technology.
I'm glad to hear it. And remember, this is just the beginning. Knowledge graphs are still a relatively young technology, and we're only scratching the surface of what they can do. As SaaS businesses continue to embrace the power of connected data, we can expect to see even more innovative applications in the years to come.
It's exciting to think about all the possibilities. Thanks for taking us on this knowledge graph journey. It's definitely given me a lot to ponder. And to all of you listening out there, stay curious, keep exploring, and we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.